Today I want to talk a little bit about managing privacy in the world of the Internet of Things. So you've probably heard of these devices called smart cameras or IoT-enabled cameras. They're called smart because they not only record what they see, but they are able to detect different faces and objects, and they're able to take certain actions like sending you a notification on your phone if it sees something of interest. A smart camera can be used in many different scenarios, and I want to discuss 3 scenarios to show you the challenges of managing privacy in the Internet of Things. In the first scenario, I'm using the smart camera as a smart doorbell. I have it mounted on the door, and when somebody approaches, it rings me on my phone. In this scenario, perhaps the faces of family and neighbors are sent to a private cloud, but since I'm using it to secure my own residence, it seems like a somewhat reasonable use of private data. In the second scenario, a supermarket is using a bunch of smart cameras to observe its customers. And internal software is profiling each customer to better understand consumer behavior so the supermarket can decide where to place certain products, etc. I'm sure that many of you, if you were a customer in this supermarket, would have a problem with this. You have not consented to your image being collected for such purpose. But now consider this final scenario where the same supermarket is using the same set of smart cameras for emergency response. While observing its customers, it recognizes that somebody is in a medical emergency, and before anyone else notices, it alerts the emergency services and help arrives on time. In such a case, maybe it's okay to use the person's image without explicit consent. So you can see how managing privacy in such IoT use cases can depend on, number 1, whose data we collect, and number 2, what we use the data for. So how do we protect the privacy of data? Now, there are legal bodies that have introduced regulations to control how private data is handled, such as the GDPR. My work is not so much on the legal side of things, but on designing the data management mechanisms in a computer system for managing privacy. And to this end, I'm currently developing a technique for analyzing the source code of a smart application and automatically adding privacy checks in the appropriate places, taking into account whose data we collect and what we're using the data for. And as the next step, I plan to evaluate whether my technique can improve the thousands of open source applications on the internet. Thank you for listening.